możemy gościć. Chciałabym jednak bardzo krótko poprosić o zabranie głosu dwie osoby. Najpierw pana profesora Geralda Steinberga.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I'd like to congratulate ECR, all the participants, Ambassador Walzer, the distinguished scholars and panel members for a very important session here at the European Parliament. I am a son of children who were evacuated in the Kindertransport from Germany to the UK. 10,000 Jewish children were saved. Far too small a number, but 10,000 more lives. My grandfather came from Poland. After the war, my father never saw his mother, his aunts, and others who were murdered in Auschwitz. My parents were married in June 1948, about a month after the establishment of the State of Israel, because they said, we can have life again as Jews. I live in Israel, lived there for 35 years. My wife, my children were all Israelis and my grandchildren. That's the expression of never again. I'm not a historian. I study politics, conflict management, particularly now the role of soft power, which is why I'm sitting here in the European Parliament. And I'd like to say a few words about that soft power in this context. Europe calls itself and refers to itself as a normative power, and the issues of hate speech, human rights, of norms and values, of incitement are very important in the European agenda. But it's not enough. There's not enough Holocaust education within Europe, outside of Europe. There's not enough emphasis on combating anti-Semitism. The European Instrument for Democracy and Human Rights, which has a budget of over 120 million euros given to hundreds of non-governmental organizations, mostly working outside of the EU space, does not include significant funding for any of these issues against anti-Semitism and other frameworks like that. I think this is something that, in a practical sense, we can go beyond the historical discussion to talk about things that the European Union can do in a practical sense. The other point, briefly, that I would like to make is the need for due diligence, transparency on the organizations that the EU frameworks do fund. Because some of them, 1 is too many, 10 is too many, but maybe there are more, themselves contribute to this. Those organizations that compare the Israeli Defense Forces to Nazis, that's a form of Holocaust denial and anti-Semitism. And at the least, I think the European Union should not continue to fund organizations under the facade of the framework of human rights that engage in that kind of comparison, or use the terms like ethnic cleansing to refer to Israel, or apartheid. Organizations that get money from the European Union and also publish blood libels against Jews, as was the case of Miftach, an organization funded by the EU, or Grassroots Jerusalem, which is very much engaged in BDS and other forms of discrimination against the Jewish state, or Badil, which publishes blatantly anti-Semitic cartoons. So, I think as a step beyond the historical memory, there are practical steps, small but important steps, that the EU can take within its own bounds. Thank you very much.